Hello, this is part 3 of chapter 6, working with files, reading and writing, and I'm going to demonstrate typical issues that come up when you are trying to parse a file that you created, and one of those issues will not be so obvious. So write to file is the file that we have seen before. Maybe I made some minor changes, so let's run through it again. So first of all, I'm asking a person to give a file name. So enter the file name without an extension, and creating the file object over here, calling it just F, open file name plus txt. We are creating a string name with extension, and I'm opening it for writing. Just to remind you, it means that if the file exists, it's going to be overwritten completely. And here I'm just doing a while loop, and while the input is not empty string, I'm going to ask the user for so while input new line is not empty string, I'm going to write it to the file, and I'm appending an end of the line symbol so that every entry will be in the end of the line. So let us run it and see that it works first. And as promised, there will be some issue for us once we start using it. So I was going to enter some numbers. Okay, enter file name. I'm gonna call it numbers. Enter a new line, 12, 23, 45, and finally empty line to quit. That should create a file named numbers with this very numbers. So let me see if it did. All right, here it is. Sometimes you have to refresh to see it. And it did indeed create a file with these 3 numbers. Now, my other program is there, read and sum. So I want to read from a file sum the integers. So I did put it inside a function. So this is file name input, enter a file name without extension. So asking which file I need to read from, creating the file object as infile, file name plus txt, and I open it for reading. The total is initialized before the loop with 0, of course, since we're doing a total. And for line in infile, first of all, I'm reading the line. I'm stripping the end of the line symbol. Then I also convert to int and add it to the total. Plus equals to means add to the total int line. That is a so-called augmented assignment. Finally, I print total, and I do this for every line, and in the end, I just close a file. So now that this file exists, I'm trying to actually come up with a total for these numbers. Let's try that. Enter file, numbers. So it does run the current total. Print total over here, notice that. And for some reason, it runs into the error. So it does work correctly as expected until almost the end, and then it runs into an error, and we need to read this error carefully and try to understand what it means. So stop the video, read the error message, the red message over here, try to make sense out of it. I'm gonna pause briefly, so stop the video, think about it, come up with an answer. All right, so first of all, the error happens over here. And just because in my program I was printing out the current totals inside the loop, we have this partial sums, 12, then 12 plus 23 is 35, and then adding 45, 80. We pretty much got everything we wanted. But then we went around on the new line and we ran into trouble there. So the trouble, of course, was that there is an empty string. In the end of the file, there is a next line that we cannot see. It's an empty string, but it's nevertheless a line. And we were trying to convert this empty string into an integer, and we ran into trouble. So this is kind of little details that can give you a lot of grief, and we might want to go back and think how we can edit it. There is a cheap way to edit it. Just go to the file and where's my file? Literally delete the next line. See, I can just skip by pressing left to the next line, and if I delete it and save it, that will work. But it's kind of a very rudimentary way, and I'm after a much better way of doing this. The problem is in write. So while new line is not equal to empty string, keep writing. So last time, on the last iteration, my new line was actually an empty string, and this empty string got written in the file, which is not what I want. So we might want to rearrange the code so that it does not happen. All right, so actually, I would also say that the problem is in this new line. So there is more than one thing that I'd like to rearrange. Okay, so I edited my code now so that the read and sum program now runs okay, and it does not have any new lines where it does not have any new empty lines where it doesn't need to. So first of all, I'm asking for a file name as before and opening it. Then I'm asking first time I'm asking for a new line, and I'm writing this new line. And that kind of does presume that this is a non-empty line, and that could be another if statement if I needed to. I'm just presuming that if I'm running this program, I want to write something in a file. And while the new line is not equal to empty, I'm asking for a new line value. And I'm prepending the end of the line plus a new line. And in this way, my program will work. So what I'm avoiding at this point the end of the new line symbol in the end of the strings. So as I'm putting them in, I'm prepending new line, so a new line variable is added to the file, and before that we have a symbol for the new line so that we advance to the new line in the file. So let's run this and create a file using that. So numbers will be the name of our file, and I will add some numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then quit. Let us look at our file, what's happening in it. Here is my file, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, here we go. Now let us run the read and sum program. Enter the file, numbers. Here is our partial sum, and the program ends correctly.